Yegor Yakovlev, who is the head of the Ostankino television department, received a letter from Gorbachev. This is the letter here. It states that on the 17th of January, on Channel 1, one of the participants in the program, Belozertsev, declared that I, Gorbachev, had been a participant in the August coup attempt. He referred to my meeting with Mr. Pugo, who is the former Minister of Internal Affairs. I wish to state that all of this is a crude lie, and in this regard, I have appealed to the prosecutor's office to put Belozertsev on trial for slander, and that is signed by Mikhail Gorbachev. Today, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Kozyrev, met with Hikmet Shikmin, his colleague in Turkey. Relations with Turkey were always very important for us. And over 5 centuries, they haven't always been smooth, but now for more than 70 years, they might be called good neighbor relations. And that was the general thrust of today's negotiations, which touched upon all our questions of international questions and took into account the changes in our national structure. All the problems that we are currently experiencing, it is hope, will be resolved peacefully. In Helsinki, once the agreement had been signed between Russia and Finland, after that, Secretary of State Bourbulis arrived in Stockholm. The goal of his visit was to get to know the new leadership of Sweden, who came to power quite recently after the parliamentary elections, and to examine a large number of Russian-Swedish interrelations and problems. And the Prime Minister of Sweden, Carl Bildt, also met with Mr. Bourbulis. That permits us to look with optimism into the future. That was the statement read at the end of the press conference, all the more so in that there is much in common in our approaches. As for bilateral economic ties, the thought was expressed that there would be there was a degree of risk in business at any point. Then he met King Carl XVI and Queen Sylvia. In Bonn, in Germany, they were at first skeptical on the proposal of a Washington conference on rendering assistance to the Commonwealth. The West Germany has already donated 70 billion marks worth of assistance, and they thought the United States wanted to get a free run out of that, take credit for it. But then they decided that this conference might induce others, especially the United States and Japan, to shake their purses a little bit and make a contribution. It was hoped that the amount of assistance would be increased, and that could be done within the framework of NATO. At the same time, there's a limit on credits of 5 billion marks annually with those German firms who want to cooperate with Russian firms. But they never thought how we're going to pay all this. And the German entrepreneurs don't know what to say when they're offered barter conditions. Sending assistance is a sign of confidence. So this depends on how we'll be able to conclude agreements on disarmament. And the main thing is that if we want to have a new Marshall Plan, we should not retreat from market reforms. The chairman of the European Bank on Reconstruction and Development has proposed barter agreement, saying that we should exchange Soviet warheads for national debt. The secret archives of the of the Communist Party will be accessible to the entire world. Cambridge University Press has concluded an agreement saying that millions of documents will be photocopied and sold to libraries and individuals. In Algeria, the authorities are preparing a decree liquidating or eliminating the the current political situation. That would be an attempt to eliminate the Islamic Salvation Fund. In Croatia, there are violations of the truce. There's shooting going on. Croatian radio has stated that this was done by the Yugoslav army. The military command say it is the Croatian units who are to blame. So in Peć, in Hungary, the second round of negotiations are taking place on regulating the crisis. The Security Council today is meeting with regard to the possible participation of Libya in terrorism, the initiative of France, England, and the United States, who want to see the agents brought to trial who were responsible for the catastrophe at the American plane over Scotland and the French over Niger. Here, in Iraq, we see a lot of unhappiness and flyers. Yesterday was Martin Luther King Day in the United States. This is a week to honor him with the goal of creating out of the United States a country of harmony. There were demonstrations by racists and the Ku Klux Klan who provoked clashes, and a number of persons were wounded. In Havana, Edward Diaz was executed, who came to Cuba at the end of December, but was unable to carry out terrorist acts because he was arrested immediately. There were protests in Miami. In relations between Japan and the United States, there's a new scandal. We have a problem because Mr. Sakurachi in the government said that the Americans are lazy and don't like to work. He sees this as the chief reason for bad trade relations. Now we have to see what the Americans will say about the Japanese. 80 persons died after a French Airbus A320 crashed on a flight from Lyon to Strasbourg. This was a plane put into service in 1988, and this is third accident in Czechoslovakia. A Turkish trailer was found to have heroin worth 15 million Western German marks. The load was in transit from Iran through the Balkans to Western Europe. Now we see the trial of John Gotti, who the so-called Godfather, who is accused of having killed his boss, Paul Castellano. He may be imprisoned for life if found guilty. This is a clip from Scotland. We see for a month we see a fish, the cartley, which is from the Russia, which 4 persons died, and from the crew, the local authorities cannot establish contact with the owners. Perhaps the owners will respond after they see this clip. The ship is supposedly worth 80,000 dollars, so you should get in touch with the authorities there.